talk about Nottingham Forest and the latest speculation surrounding the future of their head coach, Ange Postecoglou. Yesterday, the Sunday Telegraph reported that the former Everton manager, Sean Dyche, who was at Forest, you remember, as a trainee, is a candidate for the job should they decide to sack Postecoglou. Tim, where do you stand on this? I know when you spoke to Hayley earlier on breakfast, stick with Ange Postecoglou for now is what you're saying, right?
Excuse me. Yes, for sure. I think it's ridiculous to suggest sacking a manager. He's had 12 training days at the club. You know, he changed the philosophy, the way he wants to play. Look, I'm not saying he doesn't need a win. Of course he needs a win. He knows that because pressure mounts very quickly on managers, especially in the Premier League. When they have such a good season last year and they have a manager which the fans loved. The manager decided, you know, pretty much when he come outspoken against the chairman that I pretty much signed his release clause from the football club. It was inevitable that Marinakis would terminate his contract. That's what's happened. He's gone and got another job, a very good club in West Ham. And Ange Postecoglou has gone in there now and he's in a hiding to nothing because the fans didn't want anyone other than Nuno. Now they've got someone and it hasn't started so well, but he hasn't had the time. I think it's ridiculous to suggest we get Nuno.
You know, and I know, and even from your days in management, it's changed so much, right? So when is the point? Because he's lost 5 of 7 games. They've got Chelsea, then they've got Porto, then they've got Bournemouth away, they've got Manchester United, they've got Sturm Graz. I mean, do you see them even getting any points in any of those games? When is the point then that he can make a ruthless decision? Because, Tim, we know this guy's ruthless, right? Evangelos Marinakis has hired and fired 24 head coaches at Olympiacos. He doesn't care about sentiment and time or whatever, does he?
Well, he doesn't need any encouragement from me or you. I mean, Mr. Marinakis knows what he wants, and what he wanted was Ange Postecoglou. He didn't want Nuno anymore. So is he going to stick to his guns? Does he think that is a reasonable amount of time between the beginning of his contract to where we are now, which I don't. I think it's ludicrous. And if he does, then I'm sure he will pull the trigger and bring in Sean Dyche if it's to be Sean Dyche.
And,
I mean, what a good replacement Sean Dyche is. I mean, look, I'm not saying he's better or the same or any worse than Ange Postecoglou. And I think it would be a struggle whoever takes over in that short space of time. Nottingham Forest overachieved last season, and they're right to dream. The fans had a right to dream. They were up there for a very long stage. At the back end of the season, the wheels were half coming off. Everyone expected it to. Sells was probably the best goalkeeper in the league. Wood, goal-scoring record was incredible, was taking them to all sorts of wins. And they had a good philosophy of how they wanted the game played. The Forest fans were delighted with it. It was absolutely magnificent there at the City Ground. But I felt like it was an overachievement of the season. So whoever had gone in to follow Nuno was going to have a struggle initially, and that's exactly what's happened.
Before we do speak to a couple of Nottingham Forest fans, which is going to be fascinating this morning on Sky Sports Fan Club, Tim, just tell me, Dyche, if it is to be Dyche, right, how drastic would that change be to go from Nuno to Ange to Dyche?
Not too drastic. I think it's a safe pair of hands. I mean, we're talking about...
Stylistically,
it's similar to Nuno. The way Dyche wants to play. And obviously you've got Steve Stone going back there as well. You know, he's one of his assistants.
Ian Wone,
both Nottingham Forest legends of the club. I understand that Sean lives quite nearby to Nottingham. So it'd fit quite well. Not that matters for any manager. They would, you know, go to the end of the world to get a job what they want. But I just feel like it will be ridiculous to sack Ange at the moment. But this is football. These things happen. We know that. You mentioned it. I wouldn't be surprised. Would I be surprised if I woke up tomorrow and Ange Postecoglou was removed from his job? Of course I wouldn't. This is football.
Right, so is Dyche the man to succeed Ange Postecoglou if Nottingham Forest decide to make a change? Let's get the view of the Forest fans, shall we? Sky Sports have partnered with Finalysis, an app where passionate supporters share their opinions on their club. And if you want to represent your club, scan the QR code here or visit the Sky Sports app for more details. We are joined by 2 Nottingham Forest fans, George Edwards, who wants to see Ange stay, while Michael Temple would like to see Sean Dyche at the City Ground. A very good morning to you two, gentlemen. Michael, come on then. You want to see another managerial change. You want the merry-go-round to continue and Dyche to be brought in. Explain yourself.
I take no pleasure in seeing a Forest manager sacked, but Ange just hasn't been able to build rapport with the fans through wins. And that's where Steve Cooper and Nuno got onto such a positive, momentous period in charge of our club by winning games. Ange hasn't been able to do that, and it feels now that his race is run.
George, your team, Tim Sherwood, stick with Ange. Why?
I don't think Sean Dyche is the answer now. I think if Forest are in 17th place come January, past the January transfer window, and looking like we could be in a relegation battle, then absolutely, Sean Dyche has been at Forest before. He's a Nottingham lad. He plays football the players know. And I think he'll have the ability to get Forest out of the situation that they would be in. But now, I really don't think that's the answer. 2 months ago, we beat Brentford 3-1, and it looked like we were going to have one of the most exciting seasons ever. 2 months later, you're appointing Sean Dyche. You would have not have thought that. And that's going to send the players a message that we're in a relegation battle, because for me, Sean Dyche feels like the new Big Sam in this modern era. So I think that just sends the wrong message out. I don't like Ange, and I didn't want him to be here. But I think at the minute, we have to stick with Ange if Dyche is the only other option.
Is that fair, Tim? The new Big Sam? I mean, look, Sean Dyche has asked for, hasn't he? Even when he's been at Burnley and when he's been at Everton, he's like, give me a better squad of players and I'll show you what I could do. This could be his chance, Tim.
Same as David Moyes done at Everton. Everyone criticised David Moyes' style of play. I think if you give him the tools to work with, I think he'll make it very exciting to watch. I've covered them many times this season, and I've enjoyed watching Everton play. It's because they've got some mavericks at the top end of the field. I think if you give these individuals like Dyche the players to work with, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at what you're watching. But I see George there just said you didn't want Ange. Why didn't you want Ange? I mean, did you want Ange now after you've seen the thing, or before? I mean, why? And if not, why?
It's easy to say now because it's not worked, but I just thought, I mean, in my whole life, Forest have been a counter-attacking side. Cooper, Nuno, even before when we had Karanka and Namucci in the Championship, we've always played counter-attacking football. And Nuno, even this summer, acknowledged that that's the way we play, but we want to try and play more with the ball. Yes, we had the West Ham result at the end, but the 2 games before that, point away at Palace under Nuno, very good point, you look at that now, and that first day of the season against Brentford, where we dominated the ball, dominated Brentford. And look, Nuno did have to go because of what he said, but I thought the club changing direction so drastically when things on the field weren't going so badly, I just thought was quite baffling for me.
Michael, is there any way? Sorry, Tim, I was going to say, do you think, Michael, there's any way that this turns? Because Tim, you know, quite rightly, with his manager hat on and having been in many, many dressing rooms, far more than any of us could ever have dreamt of, he thinks that there is a point where it will start to work. He hasn't had enough hours. My response is, and, you know, that's just playing devil's advocate, but it's the way that we see modern-day football. You don't get that time. No one gets the time. You know, seven games might sound ridiculous, but it's 5 defeats. It could be 10 defeats in 12 games, Michael. So do you think there is a point where this could turn Ange's way? And will he? Is there a sort of a millimetre of hope that he might get that?
No, I don't think so, based on what I've seen with my eyes. You look at the away game in Seville, there were 25 minutes there where we looked like world beaters, but we didn't win the game. We lost in the Cup to Swansea. We've been turned over by Sunderland. And the Danish team, Midtjylland, came to us last week and made us look a bit daft on our own patch. So I think the odds are stacked against Ange now. Look, don't get me wrong, I'm not a negative fan. I wanted this to be turned around through results, but they haven't happened. It's a fickle business for managers. You're soon forgotten, and he just feels destined to me to be in that pack with Alex McLeish and Steve McLaren that came and tried to impose a philosophy that ultimately couldn't deliver results, and we moved on.
And the fans have never turned this quickly for me. Watching Forest, and I've only been a season ticket holder 10 years, and but Forest fans have never turned on a manager this quickly, this early on. So look, I really don't think Ange will succeed, but I just think Forest have got themselves in a really sticky situation. They want Marco Silva. I think that's the dream, but whether they can afford to get him out of Fulham now after they've obviously paid off Nuno, they'll have to pay off Ange and pay for Marco Silva. I think that's the long-term target.
George, why have they turned then so quickly on Ange?
Well, we've not had results. The fan base aren't behind it.
George, you've had many managers who've not had results, right? Is it a case of, I mean, I remember going down there in League One with Billy Davis. You know, you've had plenty of managers who were losing every week.
Because they love Nuno.
But Ange's had the worst start of a Forest manager in over 100 years. So it's not gone this badly in our lifetimes this soon.
Tim.
That stumped you, didn't it?
Well, it has.
I think George's opinion's changed in the last 90 seconds, hasn't it?
Say that again.
No, I don't like Ange. I've never liked Ange, but I don't think Dyche is the answer. So I think Forest have got themselves in a really sticky situation where they don't like who's in the post. I don't think we really should have Sean Dyche as the answer. And the guy they want in Marco Silva, they can't get because they can't afford to get him at the minute.
Why not
George,
Dyche?
Let me just defend Dyche for a second. I think you said this yourself. He's never been at a club where he's been backed, he's been resourced, he's had the group of players. He gets caned a little bit for being old school, direct football, the modern Allardyce, whatever. That's unfair. He plays direct, effective football. There is a romanticism to being backed in the dugout by Ian Wern and Steve Stone, who are on immediate positive terms with Forest. Sean Dyche deserves more credit for what he's done in difficult circumstances, and I think he walks through our door of credibility.
By the way, everyone keeps bashing Big Sam. Let's just bring it back to Ange here, because Big Sam, if he was here, would remind you of his win percentage in the Premier League. Ange has lost 30 games out of 49 in the Premier League, guys. He's won, if you flip it the other way, he's won 1 of 16 in the Premier League. Who was that against? Southampton.
This is a false economy, what you're barking out there. Well, it's a false economy. We're talking about a manager who put all his eggs in one basket to win Europa League, which he actually did. And there should be a statue of him outside of Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
But this is a different
a load of managers have come and gone and never been able to win. The manager decided that he wouldn't be able to compete on all fronts. So he put all his eggs in the Europa League basket. And he almost discarded the Premier League, whether it was right or whether it was wrong. I think it was right because at the end of the day, there was an open-top bus parade around Tottenham and all them fans had a day out to remember.
So he's a cup manager, Tim. He's a cup manager. He's not a league manager. You can't do it over 38 games.
He's a winner. He's a winning manager. There's very few winning managers around.
He's not winning.
Nottingham Forest have a winning manager at the moment. They have a winning manager. And if they just choose to discard him, look, he's broad enough, you take it on the chin. You know what he's like? You've seen him in the press conferences. You can't faze this man. He's unfazable. He knows his job. He knows the team he wants to work with. He knows where he wants to go. Look, he'll listen to all the disgruntled fans along the way and he'll take it on board. And it's not nice to hear, but he's focused, he's blinkered. He knows one direction to go, and that is to make this a success at the club. He needs a result as quickly as possible to get the fans on side. With the fans on side, it helps him. It makes the job a lot easier.
But they're never going to be on side, are they? I mean, you boys tell. I mean, I can't think of a scenario where, the fans with their own manager are saying you're getting sacked in the morning and then that manager's turned it around and won the fans back. George?
Yeah, it would take something drastic. And as you mentioned at the top of the show, you look at the run of games that we've got coming, Chelsea, Bournemouth, a couple of Europa League games against Porto. You're looking at where is the results coming from? And it almost does feel like Ange is one battering away from losing his job as well. I don't think it's a sustainable environment at the club at the minute. But yeah, look at them 6 games. I mean, we've struggled always at Bournemouth away. Porto have started the season so well, I think, in their league and in the Europa League. I can't see us beating Chelsea.
Michael, how many games are you winning out of that? Because George is already going down the list. He's got 0 down towards, Bournemouth. I mean, Manchester United at home. I know Ange beat United 4 times last season, but then Sturm Graz away and Leeds.
Chelsea will be short price favourites. I think we can enact a positive result against Porto, Manchester United at home. Bournemouth away feels like a struggle at this moment in time. Look, yeah, you have to have the fans on side. We've rode this tidal wave of progression through the back end of Cooper, the start of Nuno, and it's faltered. And this isn't all of Ange's fault. He's inherited a team that were losing, that did have a few problems. But the talent and the depth within this squad is such that it shouldn't be where it finds itself now. It needs to be galvanised. It needs a new flag to march under. And it just feels like a matter of when, not if now. This is a story that's been floated by John Percy in the Telegraph. He's got the ear of the club. He'll have had a positive briefing. I think we know what's coming. And I'd be surprised if it didn't happen now before Chelsea.
Is there any anger towards him? Tim, be careful.
Before Chelsea?
No, I mean, we want to go down to the City Ground again and we know what happens sometimes. Gary Neville will tell you, right? Be careful here, Tim. But is there any anger towards Evangelos Marinakis? Or is it all the case, look, this guy has dragged us from the depths of nowhere and he's taken us into Europe and into the top 6, top 7 in the Premier League? Or are you boys, questioning your owner? Because this, if you go to Dyche, surely is an acknowledgement, even though it's not public and saying, I got things wrong, but he's pretty much saying that if he goes to Sean Dyche, right? And back to the style of Nuno.
But at least he's seen a mistake that he's made and acted on it. And yeah, I think Ange will get a bit more time because of that. But if the club is not going the way that Marinakis wants it to go, he will pull the trigger because he's invested so much in Forest as a club, Nottingham as a city. He's put us back on the map, on the European map. He will not allow us to go down that direction. And you will not see a Forest fan, I don't think, come out and publicly slate Marinakis. He's made a mistake. If he owns it, if he gets rid of it, we can move on from it because I'd much rather have somebody as invested in our club as Marinakis than anybody else.
Yeah, and Marinakis has no... He doesn't care whether me or you or the two guys here or all of the Forest fans or anyone in the world disagrees with his decision. He's his own man, he makes his own decisions. I admire that about any individual because he lives and dies by his decisions. He's made decisions in the past, he's made big, bold decisions. And in the end, they're successful decisions what he makes. So hopefully he makes the right one.
And his managerial
I think he's a winner, isn't he? He's resources to win and we're not winning. That's the bottom line for Marinakis. Yes, he's brutal. He has that ruthless streak. You have to be to operate a Premier League club at this level. Every single result, every single march onto the pitch, every time he kicks the telly, it comes from that place of passionately wanting to win. His resources to doing it, and it's not happening.
So, Michael, you're saying there, right? You know, and I agree with you on that point that he's a ruthless businessman, and I bring those numbers back, 24 head coaches. And we think Watford's crazy. Olympiacos is as well, right? Since 2010, 24 head coaches in and out the door under his ownership. So he's putting the plug before he thinks it gets too far down the line and they slide down the tip. Are they in a relegation battle?
Not only that, Will, every manager who goes in there with their eyes wide open. You know exactly the individual you're dealing with.
Yeah.
I'm not knocking him. I'm saying I think it's ridiculous to even consider losing your job as a manager with 12 training days on the pitch. And that is what we're looking at the moment. The speculation, it's a tough job for him. We know you love Nuno, but you love Cooper prior to that. But Nuno got some results early on. That's what you need as a manager. You need the feel-good factor. That group of fixtures, what they've got coming up, they have hardly any chance of winning them fixtures without you guys on side. You need to help the team out, and they need you now. When they most need you is right now. And that manager needs you now. And who knows, in the future, he might lift the trophy for your club because he's done it everywhere else he's been.
And look, George, it's the acknowledgement as well, isn't it? Because if you've gone from Nuno, and all right, the guy publicly came out and slagged off his boss, and obviously you're not going to last with a boss like Evangelos Marinakis, so he goes. But then the whole style change, it was very drastically different to what Nuno was, right? Bringing in Ange Postecoglou. So there is an acknowledgement of case of, right, we can't evolve too quickly. Let's go back. Let's batten down the hatches. And by saying that and bringing Sean Dyche in, do you guys both think that you are in a relegation fight? Because, you right now, form-wise, tell me 3 teams worse off apart from Wolves.
That's my concern with bringing Dyche in. I think you can't allow... That appointment looks like we're in a relegation battle. And I think if we are, then Dyche coming in will be the perfect choice to come in. I think he'd get us out of a problem. And next season, he might even take us on, or that might be the time where he'll get Marco Silva. I just think now... It's so early on in the season that we can't admit we're in a relegation battle by making that decision.
Michael and George, can I ask you one question? What was the objective in your mind? And I know you've been warped a little bit by looking at the start of the season, but what was the objective at the beginning of the season for both of you guys? Michael, starting with you.
Objective for me was a top 10 finish in the Premier League with the added stress and pressure of playing on Thursday nights in Europe. I had no grand designs on us winning a trophy this year. I knew that the depth and the fatigue factor would be relatively critical. But yeah, making a good account of ourselves in Europe and finishing in the top 10 would have represented success for me.
George?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I think you look at our starting 11 compared to last season, we only really lost Elanga from the starting 11. We've got a lot more depth in all areas. So I was expecting us to at least get the top 10. I think we had the enough resources for that, especially coming into the season with Nuno. And then our first European venture in 30 years, the first in my lifetime. I wanted us to go and give a really good account of ourselves and hopefully go as far as we can. But it's not transpired like that, of course. It's Forest, it never does.
I'd love to know, and I suppose you guys would love to know as well, when Mr. Marinakis sits down with the managers who he's employing, manager would always ask, what is the objective? And then I will tell you the truth whether I'm going to be able to achieve that or not. I wonder what his objective was when he brought in at the beginning of the season for Nuno and then when he brings in Ange Postecoglou. We will never know. But I would suggest it would be higher expectation than top 10 than what you're thinking. Whether that's realistic enough or not, I think, I'm only guessing, that Mr. Marinakis would want more than top 10.
And the appointment of Ange, for me, looks like he wants to go and win the Europa League, because for me, Ange is only here because he won the Europa League. He finished poorly in the Premier League.
Correct.
If he'd have lost that final to Man United, I don't think he's our manager. So I think Ange was like, right, we're in this Europa League. We never know when we're going to do it again. You go out and win that at all costs.
Or maybe the big
Still do that.
master plan, the grand plan is let it fester, guys. Let it just about stay up this season and win the League Cup next year. He always wins something in the second year. Can you sit it out to the second year under Ange and see what happens? The ship will turn eventually. Boys, we've got to leave it there. Lots to get through.
Cheers,
Michael
guys.
and George, Nottingham Forest. Tim, staying up for you this season?
Staying up. They stay up and win the Europa League. That's what happened to Nottingham Forest.